Now sleeps he with that old whore, death. Do thee take this old whore, death, for thy lawful wedded wife? Ernest Hemingway. Norman, born sign of Aquarius, was in Mexico when the news came about Hemingway. He'd gone through the New York Times to read the well-turned remarks of notables. For the most part, never cared about Papa. Not that much. And had one full heart clot of outraged vanity that the Times never thought to ask his opinion. In fact, he wasn't sure he could have given it. He was sick in that miasmal and not quite discoverable region between the liver and the soul. Hemingway's suicide left him wedded to horror. It's possible in the 8 years since that he hasn't had a day which was completely free of thoughts of death. Of course, he finally gave a statement. Norman coughed up what was, in effect, a political statement, inveighing gracelessly on how the death would put secret cheer in every bureaucrat's heart, for they would be stronger now. He had, of course, been thinking that Hemingway constituted the walls of the fort. Hemingway had given the power to believe that you could still shout down the corridor of the hospital, live next to the breath of the beast, accept your portion of dread each day. Now the greatest living romantic was dead. Dread was loose. The giant had not paid his dues, and something awful was in the air. Technology would fill the pause. Into the silences, static would enter. Are we poised for a philosophical launch? There may be no way to do anything less. We'll be trying, after all, to comprehend the astronauts. So forgive Aquarius, then, if he takes mild pleasure at the conjunction of dates. John F. Kennedy had made his declaration concerning the moon not 6 weeks before Hemingway was dead. The nation, Kennedy decided, should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. This is a new ocean, and I believe the United States must sail upon it. Presumably, the moon was not listening. But if she were, in fact, the receiving and transmitting station of all lunacy, well, she had not been ignoring the nation since. 4 assassinations later, a war in Vietnam later, a burning of black ghettos later, hippies, drugs, and many student uprisings later, one Democratic convention in Chicago 7 years later, one New York school strike later, one sexual revolution later. Yes, 8 years of a dramatic, near catastrophic, outright spooky decade later, and we're ready to make the moon. It was a decade so unbalanced compared to previous American history that Aquarius, who'd begun it by stabbing his second wife in 1960, was to finish by running in a Democratic primary for the mayor of New York during the hottest May and June he could ever recall. He came in fourth in a field of 5, and politics was behind him. Now, in the middle of his mayoral campaign, an offer had come in to do a book about the astronauts. Several $100,000, less the pile of crazy debt he had accumulated, would be enough to live and think for about a year. He was weary of himself. He felt not unhappy, mildly depressed, somewhat used up, wise, tolerant, sad, void of vanity. Why, he even had a hint of humility. He might be in superb shape to study the flight of Apollo 11 to the moon. He felt like a spirit of some just consumed essence of the past. And so finally took the liberty to christen himself Aquarius. That was the perfect name for a man who would begin the study of rockets. The water bearer traversed the earth and breathed the air. 3 elements were his medium: solid, liquid, and gas. That was kin to the rocket. Apollo 11 would leave Earth, travel on the combustion of its liquids, and traverse space. What indeed is space, if not the final decompression of a gas? On such unscientific thoughts did Norman, sign of Aquarius, travel.